Once upon a time, there were two sisters. Dirtza, 9 years old, and Georgia, 11. They loved inventing adventures in their bedroom. One afternoon, they decided to build a tent using sheets, blankets, strings, and lots of pillows. The room became a total mess, but for them, it was the most beautiful campsite in the world. After several tries, they finally managed to keep the tent standing. When Mom walked in and saw the mess, she frowned and said, "What is this disaster? You need to clean this up." But Dad, who was always kind and understanding, smiled and went to the kitchen to prepare a snack. He returned later with hot chocolate and cookies. He wished them good night lovingly, knowing it was just a sweet little mischief. Dad smiled, and the girls began to imagine they were under the stars. Georgia smiled, and without realizing it, they fell asleep. When Dirtza opened her eyes, she noticed something strange. Everything was the same. Georgia smiling. The tent is still there, the smell of hot chocolate. Just as she was about to speak, a flash of light appeared inside the tent. Dirtza reached out to touch it. "Did you see that?" "Oh," she exclaimed. "See what?" Georgia replied. The light glowed again, like a little floating star. They crawled after it, leaving the tent, but just as they were about to catch it, the bedroom door slammed shut. The door that wasn't there when they ran to the door, it was gone. Only a wall remained, as if the door had never existed. Georgia grabbed Dirtza's hand. "This isn't normal," she whispered, trembling. Then they heard a whisper. "Escape, if you can!" Suddenly, the strings from the tent formed a glowing path towards a dark corner. They looked at each other. "There's only one way out," said Dirtza. They walked slowly, but before reaching it, an old clock fell from the ceiling, striking midnight. Time froze. The clock landed in front of them, its hands spinning backwards. Georgia, wide-eyed, read an inscription on the back. "Only those who change the ending can break the cycle." "Dirtza!" she exclaimed. "That's why everything keeps repeating." The little star floated again, circling the clock and whispering, "You've lived this day many times because you forgot something important." "What did we forget?" asked Dirtza, scared. Before the star could answer, everything went dark. When they opened their eyes, it was all back to the beginning. In the afternoon, the blankets, the pillows, the laughter. Dirtza remembered the inscription. "Georgia, we have to do something different." Georgia thought for a moment. Then, instead of building the tent, they went to the garden without telling Mom. They lay on the cold grass, staring at the real stars. And there was the floating star. "This is how you break the cycle," it said, smiling. "The real camp is here, under the real stars." At that moment, the moon appeared, casting a peaceful glow over everything. The next morning, they woke up to birds singing. This time, the day didn't repeat. They looked at each other, smiled, and Georgia said, "Did you notice? We're free." Dirtza nodded. Since then, they knew sometimes small changes lead to big things. And every time they saw a star, they remembered the night they broke the infinite loop of the tent. And this starry tale came to an end.